Thank you for joining me again. There is a little news event that I'd like to cover briefly, and then I'd like to segue into a discussion that we first started in the spring, and that was concerning dating and relationships, and I want to go back into that again. So, but before I do that, let me just go ahead and discuss briefly what one of my observations about what happened last week since we last met. When we did last meet, I was discussing health insurance, and I told you that the president was going to end the payments to health insurers, the cost-sharing payments that would reduce the deductibles and would also reduce co-pays that we pay. Well, finally Congress, the Do-Nothing Congress, finally decided to act. When I say Do-Nothing Congress, I'm really saying that about the Republicans. The Democrats, I said this before and I say it again, they're really hard-working people that try to pass their agendas. I just don't think that their ideas is good for the people, but at least they work at it. The Republicans don't seem to be doing that lately, but they did come together with Democrats. There was a bipartisan effort to pass a bill that will authorize the payments, the cost-sharing payments. Now, the president has already said that he is not going to sign that into law because he is not going to do anything that helps the insurance companies. And I understand that, but it does have some effect on the people that have those plans, whose co-pays could go up, their deductibles may go up, and I don't know that's how it's going to play out. I've read some stories that had said that the insurance companies will just increase the premiums, and that's the payments that they get, the subsidies that they get from the government, those will increase as well to offset the increased premiums. I don't know, but I was just thinking to myself, all right, this is what I would do to the president to really exert some pressure to get him to sign this. I'm not suggesting that he sign it. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that if they want to get him to sign it, this is what I would do. I would tell the president that if he signs it, that the payments would not go to the insurers, it would go to us, the people, and then we would use it to reduce our deductibles and to reduce our payments. I'm wondering how the president would respond then, because then it's not a payment to the insurance companies, it's a payment to the people. It's a form of a tax break, which is what he wants, right? So that would give us more control over the money, and that's what Republicans are always advocating, right? So I just don't think that any Democrat would ever go for that. They would not want the bill to read that way. They want the payments to go to the insurance companies. That's the way Democrats are. They like to take our money and they like to spend it, and they like to make decisions about how the money is going to be spent on us, if you could really even say that they're spending it on us. So anyway, I think that would be an interesting scenario. And I'd like to think that the president would then authorize those, or that he would then sign that bill authorizing those payments to the insured rather than the insurers. But I don't think he would do it even under those circumstances, because the whole idea is to repeal or replace Obamacare, and for him to deny these payments, it's only more likely to happen. Just that, I'd like to see that play out, but I don't think that I don't think that there could be a bipartisan effort to pay those payments to us, the insureds. I just don't foresee that happening. But if it did, it would be interesting to see how the president would react to that. But anyway, let me go ahead and move on. And when we first met about dating and relationships, what I think I touched on was just the whole dating game and using apps and talking to people. But I wanted to move the discussion further a little bit and talk about when you actually have met somebody that way and everything seems pretty good and promising and you're just kind of chugging along nicely. Sometimes we become, I become, whatever you want to call it, a little suspicious and start wondering. We get a little nervous because things seem to be too good to be true, and we start doubting the relationship, we start doubting the other person, we start suspecting that they're messing around or that they're losing interest. And let's just assume that to be true. Not all of it, but some of what I just said. Why does that happen? I don't think that people always start. I know that we sometimes get suspicious, and what they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. So if you're feeling insecure, it could have something to do with you and just your insecurities, and you're carrying a lot of baggage into this relationship, and this has probably happened to you before, where you felt things were not going in the right direction, and then the relationship ended, or you were completely blindsided, thought that everything was fine, and then it turns out that the relationship just kind of unraveled in a New York minute. But my advice in that circumstance, if you're feeling again like your relationship is on the decline, I would discuss it with the person that you're involved with. Don't talk to everybody but him or her. Talk to him or her, and see if they reassure you. And if they reassure you, you gotta take them on their word, because if you don't, and you start reacting, you're gonna sabotage the relationship, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I do think that, like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there may be something to what you're thinking, but it may not necessarily be that they're cheating on you. Even when you're married, these things happen. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person's cheating on you, but it could mean that their feelings for you have changed, and not for the better, for the worse. And that's really sad. But when you're just dating and you haven't really committed to each other through marriage or anything like that, it's not as a big a deal. Dating is an evaluation period. You got to evaluate each other, and that could take a period of weeks or months before you decide, okay, we are a fit or we're not a fit. And the two of you won't always agree on that, and that's unfortunate. But that's life. That's just the way it is. You got to accept the person may have decided that you're not right for them, and they're not doing it to hurt you. Okay, and they can be very nice, and they may very well even choose to have feelings for you if they could. But we don't choose who we have feelings for. Life just doesn't work that way. All right, but I don't understand why people change. That I can't answer. But there's a lot of fickle people out there, and everything's really good in the beginning. And I think that's why that happens is, in the beginning, when you don't know each other, you can impose on each other whatever you want one another to be. That beginning trial period is really exciting. You know what you want, and you don't know that person can offer you what you want, but you latch on to something you you like about them, and you automatically assume that everything else about them is what you want. And then they may be doing that to you as well. And then as they get to know you, they may realize, they will then become faced with a hard reality that there are things about you that doesn't match up to what they consider the ideal person. And they will begin to withdraw. The calls won't be as plentiful. The text messages won't be as plentiful either. They'll start making excuses for not hanging out with you. And it's because of how they feel about you. It's not necessarily how they feel about somebody else. But when they start feeling that way, it does open the door for them to meet somebody else. Yes, there are people that will dump you for somebody else because of somebody else, but a lot of times it doesn't happen that way. A lot of times is they just start changing, not consciously, but they start subconsciously feeling differently towards you, and it makes it easier for them to stray. And like I said, people cannot make themselves feel one way or another for a person. And I'm not excusing them and just saying that you should deal with it. I think that they have a responsibility to tell you early on when they start feeling differently. And I see all too often that people feel trapped in a relationship and they don't come to their partner and explain how they're feeling because they don't want to hurt their feelings. And sometimes it becomes really difficult if you do end up getting married and having children. And even though it seems like and I'm not, but even though it seems like I'm kind of making excuses and just saying, well, that's just life, that's the way it is, people's feelings changes, it happens. I'm saying that more about people that are dating. People that are in LTRs, married, and have children. That is really awful when they start feeling that way, and now there's children involved. And I don't know what the answer is. But I do know that people should not stay in relationships that don't fulfill them. It's really a disservice to themselves and to the person that they're involved with that they don't really care for. And I don't know about you, but personally, I don't like to be strung along. One of my biggest fears is people hanging around, and I'm not just talking about anyone I become involved with romantically. I'm just saying even, casual friendships. I don't like people hanging around out of some type of pity, or that they just think I'm a nice guy, or generous, and they should just hang on to see what they can get out of me. And even if it's not something quite that nefarious, I don't want somebody who is around because they're just trying to be nice. I think people should be in my life, and I think the people that are in your life should be people that are benefiting personally from associating with you. And I'm not saying financially. I'm just saying that they should enjoy your company. They should be with you because they enjoy being with you, not because they feel bad for you and you're codependent and need their attention. What good is that? I mean, eventually they're going to just have it and they're not going to be able to take it anymore, and then they're going to disappear. So that is not the basis for a lasting friendship, relationship, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know. I hope this has made sense to you. I hope that it's been eye-opening somehow, and but if it hasn't, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if anything could use some clarification, let me know. All right? Thanks again for your time.